Hi everybody, Grandad here again. What am I up to today? Well, today I want to show you something that I've made, and it's hopefully quite interesting. But before I start, I just want to do a little catch-up, because sometimes when I'm doing things, I can't find things, or things go missing and I don't quite get it going. But it's not worth making a whole video about the thing I found, or to redo the video or something. So I like to add it into another video. Now, just recently, I did a video about magnetism and electricity and motors and dynamos. And on that, I showed a few dynamos that I'd got, a couple of dynamos that I wanted to show. But there was one dynamo that I couldn't actually find, which I thought was very interesting. And it's a sort of a thing that was developed. They don't use them much these days. I haven't seen one on sale for a long time. But I bought one because I thought at the time it was a very useful tool. And it meant that you could generate electricity as you went along and carry it. Now I've got it here, and it looks a bit peculiar because I've got a bit of tape and stuff on it because it's got a handle. But this is the thing, and this bit here isn't part of the original part, but because the original part had an aerial going up there, which was a telescopic thing that folded down. But that broke, unfortunately, so I made this aerial up so that it would actually work. I don't know whether it needs it, but anyway, I made that up and I got it working with that. And what it is, it's actually a dynamo inside here, and it's operated by this handle. You wind this handle round, and it shows a little red light on the back. Oh, it's got something else there I've just noticed. And when you wind it, a red light comes on the back, and it looks as if you can plug in to charge things up with it. You can charge, I don't know, other batteries maybe, or power other things with it. So it's quite a useful little dynamo for producing current that you can use for things. And on the back here, I see, it's got a little flashing light, which I didn't notice straight away. It's got a little signaling light, which is an emergency thing. So if you were out somewhere in the woods and you had an emergency and you needed to signal, that would show up, because a candle, you don't need much light in the dark to see a candle. You can see a candle, just a single candle light, for about 14 miles on a clear night. So a little flashing light like that might be the difference if you were on a mountain or somewhere and somebody was looking for you and you were lost. Maybe that little flashing light would be enough to attract attention. And of course, as the battery went down, because it doesn't take batteries, you just wind this handle. Now what else it's got is it's got a torch on the front here, so it'll stand up and it'll turn around to any direction, and then it's got two different positions of brightness on that torch. Now I haven't wound it much, so it's not terribly bright, but you can see it works. So that could go either way. You could shine it up or down. Now the other thing it's got on the front here is it says scan and reset, and a little dial. Now when you turn this dial, that's good, hang on. Let's just reset it a minute. Now this was working perfectly a few minutes ago, and it's being stupid now. But what it is, it's a radio, and it scans through and finds the channels. You don't have to tune it in. It should scan through and find the channel itself. Perhaps the battery's a bit low. Give it a little bit of wind. I thought it was... Oh, come on. There we are. So there we are. It's a little portable radio. The handle folds in, and you can carry it along on this string. So you've got emergency light, you've got a torch, you've got a permanent power, and I thought that was a good thing, but I couldn't find it. I'd forgotten where I'd put it, but I discovered it, and I thought I'd just add it into this little video just to show you what it was I got. Now, to get onto the thing that we're working on today, we're still working on solar electricity, but this thing here I've made, and I'll just bring it in now. Now, I'll just, I don't know whether I can push back a little bit more into the corner there. Let's just get a little bit more room there. Push that bottle back in the hope that you can see what I've got here. And it's quite tall, so I'll turn it sideways. Now what it is, it's a Graaf Generator. I've made a Graaf Generator. Now unfortunately this was working really well, and I was quite pleased with it, and I was going to show it work. I will show it working. But for some reason, now I've sort of done a little bit more to it and improved it, I think. It isn't working quite as well as what it was before. It does work, but it isn't working quite as well. So I don't know what I've done with it. But it's really, this video isn't really about how it works, because it doesn't do very much as regards looking to see what it does. It's actually the build. Now, what I've made it out of is all sorts of bits and pieces that I found around the house. I haven't really bought anything on this machine. It's stuff I found lying around the house, and I've adapted it. Well, I tell a lie, I have bought one thing. Now, the one thing I bought was this. Now, these little things are, this says single shot, and it would cost $1.99 for 6 of these test tubes. Not test tubes, what do they call these? Syringes. And I think they use them for Halloween for drinks and stuff. You can put a shot of some sort of liquid in, but they only cost $1.99 for 6 of them. Now you take it apart. I've took the plunger out of one of them here, and there's 4 of them actually. Just surprising, but there's 4 of them inside this contraption. There's one at the bottom here, which is the bottom cut off. Then they join in the middle, and there's another one on top, and there's another one on the top, which is the bottom of another one. And there's another one which I cut in half, which acts as a slider so that I can adjust the belt inside. Because inside here, they've got a rubber band, and obviously the rubber band is different lengths. And so you have to adjust that to make sure you've got enough tension on the rubber band to keep it just tight enough to turn. Now, the other part of it is this bottom part, which I've got. And this is made out of blocks from a Jenga machine, Jenga blocks. Now, Jenga's a thing I bought from a charity shop, and it cost me £1 or so. And these little Jenga blocks are really useful for making wooden things. And you can glue them together. There's no nails or screws. You just put a bit of PVA glue on them, and they glue together quite readily. And you can glue them together in different ways, so you make a really sturdy little stand there. And I put some legs on the bottom, which are another Jenga block, which is smaller. So I bought two lots of Jenga blocks. Now, the other thing I've got on here, as you can see, is there's a wire there. Get that out of the way. There's a little electric motor. Now, this little electric motor came out of a computer. Because I take computers apart and get all the bits out of them. Because I find there's all sorts of useful electronics inside computers. So they're very useful to have. So, and because the motor has to move about, you might have to jiggle it about a little bit. I've just got it held down with elastic bands. So I haven't actually glued that. And I've soldered some wires on the back going to some terminals here. And that's where I connect my power. Now, this wire on the side, which is just dangling around, is the bottom brush of the Graaf Generator. Because what you have to have is a little brush on the bottom, and it goes in through this little hole at the side here, and just rubs, not actually on the rubber band, just almost touching the rubber band. Just very little distance between. And what it does, it robs electrons. As the motor runs, it takes electrons off that rubber band, or puts them onto the rubber band maybe. It robs electrons, and you can connect this to Earth. It doesn't have to be connected to Earth, but you can connect it to Earth if you want to. Or you can just hold on to it. But it works just as well whether it's connected or not, so I don't know is that necessary. Now, the other end of it, where this funny can is, this is just a pop can. It's a bit of a clean one. It hasn't got any logos on because it came out of a kit of my grandson. So it belongs to Sam, but it came in a thing for him for doing static electricity. But it was ideal for this job. And that just sits on the top there. And if I just take the top off for a second, it just sits in there. Now inside there, there's the roller. Now incidentally, that roller is quite interesting. You use different things for the rollers. There's a little brush on that roller as well, which goes very close to the elastic band again. But that roller is made of glass. Now I got the glass from a fuse. I found a glass fuse, again inside a computer, not a ceramic one, but it was a glass one, and they're very useful for making rollers. And then there's just a little bit of wire going through the middle, making a roller, and I put a bit of cotton on it to keep the roller, because if you put a bump on the roller, it stops it from wandering about, and you're able to keep the thing where you want it to be. Now these two things on the top here, they're just jam jar lids. I think this was off of some packet of some sort, as plastic one. I don't know whether it needed to be plastic, but I put a plastic one up one way and a tin one up the other way. And inside, obviously, the wire goes inside the pot to make the connection. So that's all the parts, really. Now, as I say, it does work. And I'll just take it back now. Now, another way of testing this is with this other machine, which I did a video about, which is an electro, I can't remember what electro something, but these leaves inside this jar will open if there's any kind of negative current going on. So I'll just put that over there out of the way for a moment. Now I've got a 12-volt supply here, which I'll just plug in on these wires. Now this can be quite noisy. I'm hoping it's not going to be noisy, but I'll try it. And I'll connect up the wires now with these little clips here. And I'll set it running. Now it runs quite well. And with those little bumps, because now the tricky part about this is finding a motor that's got an axle that will actually go through and run. Now this little motor I had, when you buy motors, they're very often, they've got lots of motors. I've got another couple of motors here, which I'll show. And as you see, they've got a very small little shaft on it, and you need a longer shaft on there, about 1 inch long. So when you buy motors or you collect motors out of things, this works very well. But the shaft is very long. Now as it happens, on this particular motor, it had like a little plastic worm gear on it. I don't know what part of the computer it was out of, but it was a very useful little motor, and it got quite a long shaft on it. So I was able to put some insulation tape on there and make a little pulley. And as you can see, it's not too bad. It made a little bit of a noise before, but it's working really well. Now then, I don't know whether it'll work, but I'll bring in this this machine now and see if we're getting any current. I'm just testing it there. But if you look, now that's typical. Just because I wanted it to work for you. These brushes, obviously I'll just check this top one in a minute, just to see whether it's running by it. Now oddly enough, that brush does look as if it's running properly. But for some reason, which I don't quite understand, I'm not getting my moving apart of my leaves. So obviously for some stupid reason at the moment, it's not, even if I hold the bottom here, but it's not picking up. It's not picking up the electrons for some reason off that machine. Oh, they're just trying. They're not moving very much. So it is picking up a little bit of current. If I move it away, they go down. Now if I bring it back in, they do go up a little tiny bit. I'll bring that in now and see if you can see that. I don't know whether you can. But you can see now they're moving apart quite a lot now, look. If I move it away, they go down. If I move it in, you can see they go up. and they're moving quite nicely. So that does work, but it's not very strong, and it's not a very big working very good at the moment. Now I was hoping that I could actually, because when I had it going the other night, it had quite a strong spark, and you could get the spark coming off onto your finger, and I was going to do it in the dark so you could see it. But for some reason, I just put my finger against it. I'll just put my light off here so it's a little bit darker. So I can't actually feel it, which is a pity. So it's not working as well as it might. But as I say, this video really wasn't about showing how it worked. It was about the making of it. Now that works quite well. Now these are quite easy to make, and they cost a lot of money. I looked online to see how much a proper bought one would be, and they're very expensive. I mean, they're quite expensive to buy one, but you can make one out of little bits and pieces like this, and it shows the principle, and it works quite well. So I'm very pleased with that. So that's my little Graaf Generator, and that's just been a short little video. It's only 20 minutes or so. No, it's only 16 minutes. So it's not a very long video, and I'm feeling a bit fragile today. I'm all right, but as I say, I'm going through my chemo, and my wife's gone out to see a theatre tonight, so I'm here on my own. So I'll go back now and watch the television and sit quietly and edit this video up and put it onto the YouTube. And so that's all I've got for tonight. So it's Grandad signing off as usual and saying don't forget to like and subscribe if you think this video has been interesting. And I'll see you on another day when I build something else. I'm working on all sorts of things all the time, and I'm gradually getting them built. Some more things have come, and I can do some other bits of experimenting. Until we meet again. Oh, incidentally, I'll just show you this. This is a ceramic fuse that I use for that glass thing. Now that you can get these with glass, and that's the kind of fuse I use. You just use a soldering iron, you unsolder the ends, and you end up with the middle, and you've got yourself a little glass wheel there, a little bearing that you can use in the Van de Graaf. So that I showed you all the parts, how it was made, how I put it together, and hopefully that gave you the gist. There's other videos about how to make cheap ones as well, but I thought this would be an ideal way for somebody to make one using Jenga blocks, syringes, because that tube is quite important, and I couldn't find anything to make a tube, but those syringes work quite well, and they're the right size. You know, that's the right sort of size for it, and just elastic band inside, a few tins and a can. So there we go, my Van de Graaf generator. And so until next time, it's Grandad signing off as usual and saying bye-bye now, bye-bye.